Mardones. My name is CAPI CAPI. Actually, my name is just CAPI, but I usually don't hear you the first time, so I usually get called twice, and it's CAPI CAPI. So it's kind of gotten extended to CAPI CAPI. But that is I, and I am here to do this show right. And what I'm going to be doing here is giving praise and respect that the 80s deserves. It's going to be a nice time. I will discuss a couple of artists from the 80s, and I will begin the talk of the synth. The synth is a great invention. I believe it not only is it the greatest instrument ever created, but I believe it to be the greatest invention in all of the planet. But wait, there's more. I believe that in the entire galaxy, and even our corner of the sky, it is the greatest invention ever, hands down. You're saying that's a big claim. I'm aware of this. They've created some great things in our galaxy over the years. We had the plow. We've had the tractor beam. We've had the flying saucer, the time machine. And of all of these things, the synthesizer I find is the most superior to the rest. What is it that makes me feel like the synthesizer is this instrument? Well, the first thing is playing two sounds back to back. Before the synthesizer, this was a feat that was rarely accomplished. If it was to be accomplished, it would happen at the church, because the Catholic Church was the only person or group that could afford to buy two different instruments. One was the piano, and one was the organ. But they were usually on opposite sides of the stage. So if you were to play the piano and then you wanted to play the organ, you would have to get up and walk across the aisle to the organ. This would take a while, so you wouldn't be able to literally play it back to back. However, sometimes you weren't able to walk across the aisle. Maybe you had to take the hidden door in the back of the closet on the stage and then run under or run over the sanctuary to get to the other side, so you didn't distract people in the congregation by you running across the aisle to play the piano, play the organ right after you've been playing the piano. And chances are, if you rush, you'll probably be out of breath, and it would take away from the enjoyment of being able to accomplish this feat. So it's not just the piano and the organ, okay? The synthesizer is capable of making noises and sounds only imaginable by things. So that means if you can think it, then you can make it on a synthesizer. And this resonates very well with someone that I was talking to earlier, because in the beginning, the Word was God, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And it would have said something like that. Well, that was a very, very bad translation, and we can blame most of it due to King James, and the fact that he hated himself for being a homosexual, even though it was not a bad thing or wrong, you know. He came from a different time. So what that verse originally said was that in the beginning there was a sound, and that sound was the air chorus of a synthesizer, and the frequency of this instrument started the Big Bang, and it echoed throughout the galaxies and the dimensions, creating a pattern of sound from one galaxy being created to the next. And this is recorded in the memory of our Heavenly Father. And with this, he was the first one to keep time. This was a pattern, a time signature, so to say. That's the second thing that we're getting to today. I will go back in a second and talk about the first one after the claim here has been met. So when the first planet emerged, there was a big boom or bang. Depending on where you were in the galaxy, you heard it, received it very differently from the next person. And then another, and 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 another. See, now we had a rhythm, and you're allowed to do this on the synthesizer, yes. Now, not only can you give that rhythm, you can turn that into a metronome. So you get the click, 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 click. People know that as a Dr. beat, but I don't know who exactly started it. It's a very old invention. It's been around longer than the synthesizer. So what else can the synthesizer do? We're still on the drum beat, right? So for all those sounds we had, like bassoon and wood and clarinet and trumpet and cosmic strings and fantasy and a lot of different sounding things, we had infinite possibilities with the sounds of the musical instruments, and therefore we also had the infinite possibilities of drum sounds to be made into rhythmic beats and such. So the first beat that came into existence was the 4 on the floor, and it was because the first 4 planets fell out in a row, and it looked like it was scattered across the floor. There are other signatures the synthesizer made possible of discovering, especially for me. When I was a young boy, I only knew of the 4/4. I had not yet been exposed to anything else. But one day, I saw these 2 numbers with a line in between it. It kind of looked like a fraction, but it was in front of some notes. And then I said, "Dear Heavenly Father, what are these things here that you have laid in front of me?" And the Lord spoke, "These are time signatures." And I asked, it's sentient? It's aware to sign its own beat? And he said, "No, that's just a figure of speech. And I said, okay. And we went on. He told me about 16 beat and 8 beat and rock and roll beat and disco beat and hip hop beat and rap beat and opera beat. I'm just kidding. And opera beat. I'm just kidding too, because opera usually doesn't have a beat. And a song that doesn't have a beat is known as a bitch anthem. We don't want none of that, do we now, Benny? Benny is the greatest singer from the 80s. In 1980, he started it off right with his smash hit, no pun intended, Into the Night. Into the Night was a metaphor for date rape, or let's say rape, or statutory rape. Either way, he was looked very badly upon for putting this song out. When he learned that people weren't too fond of his likings to this young woman, they outed him and said he was a pedophile, among other things. And there was never enough proof, but we all heard the stories and we knew what was right. However, things would change for the better. He learned the bossa nova. He learned 5/8, 7/8, 5/7, and a whole world of other weird and wild, wacky time signatures. And if it wasn't for the synthesizer, I would have had no idea. I would have thought that the only type of beat that existed had 4 beats per measure, with the quarter receiving 1 count. Therefore, 4 quarter notes would have 4 counts of 1, 2, 3, 4, end of measure. Speaking of end of measures, we need to get rid of this floodwater that is slowly seeping in and covering our carpet floor. It's a beautiful shag carpet it was left over from the 80s, left over from the 70s. It was my father's rug, and it really pulled the room together, but not like Benny's. You see, Benny was with a 16-year-old girl. He said it was consensual, and he said that the age of consent had been met. But we know that 16-year-olds aren't mentally developed and completely matured into the level that they will become later in life. So, to be clear, this is the time when we received word from an altar Boy Scout that they were looking at young Benny. So young Benny, raised in the church, he goes to his girl's house, and the father answers the door. So we'll go ahead and start the music here. We're going to have a little segment, and later we'll probably have another one entitled Criticizing the Classics with Cappy. And I'm Cappy, Cappy Cappy, Capitan. You know who I am. I am. Without further ado, this is Benny Mardones with Into the Night, a metaphor for chloroforming someone's whole face with the rag. Okay, so let's get the sound together and off we go. Here is Benny walking down the street to his woman's house. He looks old. He's an old white van dude. He's parked his van on the street and he's walking to the door. Knock, knock. And the only person that's more creepy in this video stands at the door. And he said to Benny, he said, "Leave her alone." But Benny will not have this. Look at his eyes. Watch this eye roll. This shows the epitome of the creepiness that Benny is and will continue to be forever. Let's see what else. Look at those eyes. He says he's separated by fools, but the fool is her parent. It's her father, more specifically. And what else? So he is saying that the father of the 16-year-old doesn't know what love is. Someone needs to show him. I want you to show him. I'm not wasting all my time on love. You got it all over you. Honey, it's true. It's not glue. It must have been semen? I don't know. I don't want to say for certain. Anyway, Benny, he wanted her to know that if he had wings, or if he could fly, he would pick her up and take her into the night. And that is the metaphor for chloroform. So I'm assuming that he chloroforms her and has his way. Look at that. Look at the white van that's directly behind Benny. This is his van. And this is why Benny will be on the first episode of White Van Dudes. I think we have a clip for it. Let's take a quick break from criticizing this video. Benny Mardones will be here for as long as I can tell, ever. And this show is about to drop. It's the first episode. It's about to come out in a couple of weeks. I'm looking forward to it, and a lot of people that I know are looking forward to it as well. We had Peter Files. He is the host of the show of White Band Dudes, and he shared with us this clip. Let me see where we go from here. We'll actually go to a quick break. And when we come back, that's when we'll hear this. Thank you. Come back.